Hey, welcome to Storytime with Ellie podcast. And today we'll be exploring the Alzheimer community care and how they are helping many families living with neurocognitive disorders. Alzheimer community care's belief is where there is help, there is hope. Let's welcome President and CEO Michael Jessup.
Thanks for having me today,
Welcome,
Ellie.
Michael.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Great to
Thanks.
have you here. So
So
here we are.
let me since you talked about help and hope, and I think
Yeah.
that's a good, start for what we
Yes.
do and how we do it. I started February of this year, and one of the things that drew me to the organization was the fact that they talk about help and hope. And the other component that they're very actively engaged in is family. And I think the whole premise of the help and hope, which is in their mission statement, and the fact that they talk about safe haven, which is in their vision, is so vital for everything that we do. I like to always tell people that I kind of look at us as two triangles that overlap. The first triangle is help, hope, and then safe haven or a home, or you could say. And then the other triangle is the patient, the family, and us, and they kind of overlay. I think when you have any sort of medical disorder, but especially a neurocognitive disorder such as whether it's dementia or whether it's Alzheimer's or whether it's PTSD or something that's very prevalent now because of the sports industry, CTE. I think you always need that help, especially on the family side. But I think one of the greatest things that we do is we give hope for a better life or making a difference in the life of both the patients and their families. And I think that's one of the things, you can have the best doctors and the best medicine and the best everything, but without hope, you don't go anyplace. It's an emotional feeling, and whether it's on the medical side or whether it's in life in general, without hope, it's hard.
Yes.
And I think so many people today don't have that hope. And I think especially on the medical side, and when you're dealing with neurocognitive disorders, it's really important. We talk about the safe haven in the vision statement that we have, and as a patient, I've been a patient my whole life, and I can say this: the safe haven of a place that's almost like a home is one of the greatest things you can have, because when you're sick, all you want are the people that love you around you. So you have your home, and usually in your home are the ones that love you, taking care of you.
Correct.
And one of the things that we do, and I'll get into more about our specialized day centers and stuff in a little while, but that safe haven of home, and you put that help and hope in the safe haven of home for a patient and for a family. It's one of the most vital things they can have. And then and that's the one triangle, and the other triangle is the patient, the family, and us. And I think one of the things that really drew me, besides the help and the hope and the safe haven, is as a patient, you usually have the best of everything: doctors, medicine, nurses, tests, everything. So many times the families are the ones that are forgotten. They're on the outside looking at their loved one deteriorate.
I was going to say, yeah.
You see them. And especially on the neurocognitive side. My dad's had dementia for a couple of years now. But the other day on a phone call, he said to me, "Michael, my mind's really going." And I think that's the hardest thing, when somebody finally realizes that your mind is going,
They usually don't
and they
realize
don't.
it.
That's exactly right. It's hard.
So he's
He's finally gotten to that point where it's the first time he's ever really come out and said, "Michael, my mind is going, and I don't know what to do." And that's just a really sad thing. And as a family member, I think it's so hard. What most people don't realize is the family member that takes care of somebody with neurocognitive disorder or disease, especially Alzheimer's or dementia, tends to die before the patient.
oh my gosh.
Because of the emotional
Terrible.
and physical
Oh.
stress that they go through. They tend to die before. And one of the things that we do as an organization is we try to give the family member who takes care of the patient respite so that they can have go to work, go to the store, and get away to refresh themselves. That's where our specialized daycare centers come into play. Because unlike a what makes it specialized is that they don't just sit in front of a TV. They are the parts of the brain that are still working. We engage, whether it's through art therapy, music therapy, pet therapy, all kinds of different interactions. It keeps those parts of the brain active.
Can I ask you, Michael, do you know that about each patient when they come into your?
We do a thorough evaluation.
Okay, perfect. So that's how you. Yeah.
It's interesting too because, a lot of times we can tell when somebody's getting sick just because maybe their balance is off. Maybe they're a little more disoriented. It may not be the dementia or the Alzheimer's. It may be they're coming down with COVID. They're coming down with the flu. They have a UTI. All
Very
these little
common,
things.
those things. The UTIs are not common in that.
Absolutely. And one of the nice things when they're in our care, which, it's not just our 12 specialized daycare centers. We have nurse navigators, and for anybody who has ever been sick, and having worked in academic medical centers and having worked with cancer patients, one of the best things you can ever have in life is a navigator.
Oh,
because
yes.
they get you through the system.
You need a voice.
Yeah,
you need a voice.
Exactly right. So if you're not in our day centers, they're working with us with our nurse navigator or our case manager that makes their lives easier. One of the hardest things is to navigate through care. Who do I need to see? What's the best doctor? What's the best test? What potentially is the best drug? And that's what navigators do and case managers do. One of the things we strive on is we want to keep all our patients and everybody in their homes. So one of the nice things about the day centers are you get to go back home at nighttime. You get to go back in your safe haven. Your safe haven during the day, you're around people that take care of you. You go back home at night and you're around your family members that love you and take care of you.
It's almost it's almost like a school.
Yeah.
Like your daycare when your kids or just going to school, you're learning, you're getting educated, you got teachers. It's very similar. I visited several of your facilities, and I was amazed. I was like, this is fabulous. It's fantastic to have something like this. My dad also, he had passed away from dementia. He did have that, and it was we would have loved to have a place like this to bring him during the day, because when I went there, I was watching them. They were coloring, they were playing games, they were just interacting, and everybody was happy. It was just a nice, beautiful. It was just fantastic to see this.
It's one of the most satisfying thing for me is when I go to a day center and one of the patients come up to you and they just want to shake your hand.
Yeah, we were joking around,
and they're smiling and they're like, thank you.
It's wonderful.
It's like I tell almost in any interview I do or any sort of speaking engagement I have. We do make a difference in a lot of lives now. We need to make more differences in more lives. We've been almost in a comfort level. When I interviewed for the position, they talked about Alzheimer's community care 1.0, but it was time to go to 2.0.
Right.
And we've had a comfort level with 8 facilities in Palm Beach County, 3 facilities in St. Lucie, and 1 in Martin County. And we've gotten very comfortable in our zone. But, 5 days after I started on the job there, I was in Tallahassee. And I would say 95% of the legislators that I met with either went to the Kleenex box because they started to cry, because they knew somebody either in their family or close. And all they said was, Michael, we need you in our district. So one of the things that we're looking at, and you and I have had discussions on this, is we're getting ready to move to Tampa and offer our facility, offer our care and our expertise.
So needed.
And I think that's just the beginning. When I took the job, I refer to us as a hidden gem.
Yeah.
I need to get rid of the word hidden. We can't be hidden anymore, because with us being hidden, we're not providing or making the difference in the amount of people, patients and families that we should be making. And it's time for us to aggressively let the public know who we are, how good we are, because it's always been basically a referral basis for us. We've never really done the social media thing or done the PSAs or gotten out in the public.
Right, because I've been talking to a lot of people about this, and they were amazed. Like, oh my God, that sounds great. I mean, they got their parents sitting home, and that's another thing. The expense.
Yeah.
You can't leave your parents home by themselves. They need care.
Well, and
so you got to either quit your job, or you're hiring people to come in the house.
So you could go to assisted living, or you could go to full-time nursing care, and you're probably looking at $100,000 to $120,000 a year. If you go to our facility 5 days a week,
I was going to ask you
8 to 5, 9 to 5, it's going to cost you about $22,000. So, one of the things that I have said is hospitals should have our information in their discharge papers.
Right.
Insurance companies, the minute a patient or family calls, my loved ones come down with either dementia or Alzheimer's, what can you do to help me? They ought to tell them about us.
Oh,
because
yeah,
as
totally.
we all know, hospitals and insurance companies love to save money. And by letting us either take care through nurse navigation or case management or through one of our day centers, they're going to save money. We don't have incidents where somebody falls and has a cut or somebody falls and breaks a hip. It rarely happens under our care.
And that's what's special about this community, that what you have is that you don't have to send your parents away, or I shouldn't say parents, any family members.
It's right in your community.
It's
literally, we've been fortunate because 10 of our 12 facilities are within churches.
Right.
We lease a facility from them, and it's perfect for us. It gets into their mission of helping the community, and it allows us the place to be able to serve patients and families.
Right.
We own one of our own facilities, and then we have another one in a government agency in Palm Beach. But it's a great blend between the community and us, helping patients and families who need it the most.
There's going to be a lot of growth with this.
Yeah,
a
and
lot
it's like
more
I
growth.
said, it's those triangles just fall right on top of each other. We've got, and I actually brought it with me. One of the tragic things that has happened in the last month, actually the last 2 months, is that when you have an Alzheimer's patient at home, or when you have a dementia patient at home, they can wander off. Okay, and in the end of May, an elderly lady wandered off from her place in St. Lucie County. They found her 5 hours later in a car, and she had passed away from heat.
Oh, so sad.
I guess it was 2 weeks ago or last week, a 92-year-old lady wandered off, and they couldn't find her. And when they found her, she had been passed away. Well, all that can change. We've got these bracelets that are called ID locators.
Oh, I think we discussed those. I didn't see. Okay.
You put these on, and it sends out a transmittal to the sheriff's office.
Hold that up to your camera.
I was going to say that. Can
Hold
you
up.
see it?
There you go. I can see it now.
Okay. So they have this on their wrist, and if they wander off, it's transmitting where their location is. So more than likely, if both of the ladies had been patients of ours and had this on their wrist, they'd still be alive today.
So when the patients come into you, this is part of the. They all get a band. Obviously,
They necessarily don't. Some of them don't. I think this is a good.
It's an offer, though. You can offer it.
Yeah, it's a good stepping stone, because when you talk to somebody, they don't need to go to the day center. We're not ready to take. But if they put this on them, and they're still at home, if they wander off, they can be located. We also do it's a geo bit, which goes to your phone.
Oh,
so
wow.
Okay. So say my dad wanders off, and I'm traveling on business in Tampa or here in Orlando. It would pop up on my phone that he's left the geographical area that we almost like that around the house where If he goes outside of it or he leaves the house, it beeps on the phone almost immediately. Whoever has it on their phone. Once again, what's it going to do? Save lives.
Yeah.
And it's an easy thing. So they may not be at the day center. They may be at home having care from their loved ones.
Right.
But if they wander off, and a lot of times they just, you think they're there 1 second, and the next minute they're gone, you have the ability to find them before it's too late. And that's one of the problems because they
Very
walk
common
away.
with them. Yeah, they're very common with them. My dad too.
Yeah.
Oh, they had to change locks. They had to change. I don't have to tell you. It was just
They put alarm on a door so
Yeah,
it beeps
cameras
if they go
everywhere.
outside. So this is another way that we can save lives, make a difference, and whether it's just putting it here on your shirt, your lapel, or wearing a bracelet, and having the transmissions go out, which is it's all about saving lives.
Wow, that's fantastic. I have a quick question here too. When the patients enroll in the day center, the families. I mean, do you educate the families too? Do you help? Do you talk to them and they provide that service too?
We go through a thorough evaluation. One of the things, and I've said this since I came, I have one of the best educators I've ever seen in my life sitting on my staff.
Oh, good for you.
She educates the sheriffs. She goes to the hospitals. She's out in the public.
Okay.
She goes to the schools, and she educates them on everything that could happen, what to expect. I mean, one of the hardest things now is early detection, because so many people want to put it off. Oh, they're fine. It's just old age. You know.
It's rapid. It's growing like leaps and
bounds. If it's diagnosed quick enough, maybe there are things that can be put in place, not to stop it, but at least make a difference in their quality of life. You know, I always like to tell people there's the main distinct difference between the Alzheimer's Association and Alzheimer's Community Care is the Alzheimer's Association is more about the future, you know, finding drugs that may help slow things down. There is no cure. And will there ever be a cure? I don't know. We haven't had that luck yet.
Right, but you're tackling
Now,
in the moment.
It's all about now and in the moment.
Yeah.
It's all about the clinical care and at home care.
And that's so important, right? Because
Absolutely.
this is you get it. You get this disease. The medicine's not there. You don't have the medicine yet. They're still working on it.
I mean,
you comfort it. You make it comfortable for them.
We're now. We're the now.
Yeah,
We're the ones that are taking care of them now, making a difference now, giving the family the respite they need to get that
Wonderful,
refueling to keep them going, because you know it's tough. It's tough watching somebody go through that. It eats at you, because there's really there's a lot of things out there where you can get a treatment and have a great quality of life. You know, whether it's, I mean, I've had 2 transplants. I live a quality of life, but they were able to do something for me to make that happen. With Alzheimer's and dementia, there's really nothing that you can do except try to make their life, make a difference in the quality of their life moving forward. But there's no cure. There's just, we
don't know much. I mean, there's a lot of what we could think it is, but we don't want to get into that now. But is there anything that you would suggest?
There's a lot of,
I don't want to say symptoms, but
there's a lot of different things now about, there's a lot about brain health now, different foods to eat.
Yeah, I've been seeing some.
It's all about, it's on our website.
Reading too. They say it's good to read.
I think that's one of the reasons I think my dad has been so fortunate is my dad was an educator.
Oh.
And my dad read up until, he's got macular degeneration, but up until probably a year ago, he read. He would, the print would be big. And even now, I had it set up where he can listen to a book.
Oh, good. They
say
it's
in a headset, and so it keeps his mind active.
Yeah, they say that's like a key, one of the keys.
I think that's one of the reasons why it is not progressed in a manner that it could, because he did read, he did keep his mind active, and he I've said this. My fiance Nicole, when she's around my dad's a different person. I don't know what it is.
Oh, well, it's because it's Nicole. She's a sweetheart.
But no, it's I can be there and I can do things with him and he's fine. But there's almost like a light switch goes off when she's around him. He's much more alert. He's much more, he can, even with his macular degeneration, he just seems to be more cognitive in tune, maybe. And it's like that every time she's around him. Now, I'm around him. Okay, maybe it's because I'm his son, but
it could be.
It's just there's something that happens, and it's not a fluke because it's like that with a lot of patients.
Yeah,
there's certain individuals that for some reason it's almost like a switch goes on, and they have a better cognitive notion of who's there, who's in front of them, who's interacting with them.
Okay, now we're getting into the psychological side. Do you think it maybe has something to do with the past? Because I know a lot of them would talk. A lot of people talk about the past.
He will go back.
Yeah, they talk about like what happened when they were younger, and it like they forget about.
Yeah, he goes back.
Yeah, it's weird.
He goes back. Oh, I had 40 years.
Yeah,
and he'll start talking, and I mean it's not overly bad. But they tend to go back and talk about the past.
Yes.
He'll call his bank 5 times a day. And when I was going up to Tallahassee on our bus where we take our advocates up in February, it was interesting because there was a mother and daughter behind me, and they were talking about how the husband and father calls the bank 5 times a day. It's almost like a repetition thing.
Well, they probably don't remember that they're calling.
He doesn't remember. It's just like he'll call me several times during the day and apologize. I'm like, Dad, it's fine. You don't have to apologize to me. It's great to hear your voice.
Yeah.
So it's there's little things, but certain people have different interactions that seem to trigger different things.
Can I ask you? I'm going to ask you also, Michael. I'm going to cut you off, but. What is the difference between Alzheimer and dementia? Is it an Alzheimer then turns to dementia? Because I had heard that too, that sometimes it starts out as forgetting things, different stages.
It's just, I think it's more complex. I mean, to me, it's very similar. You're forgetful.
I was told that that's the start.
Yeah.
I don't know. They said usually it's Alzheimer's because I wasn't sure though, but it starts out where you forget something, and you can have it, not even realize you have it. It's so early on, and then what's severe is when it's the dementia.
It's starting now. Early 40s. They're starting to say.
Do you have a number about what's in the?
It's one of the things. One of the things about Florida is I think we're the number 2 in the country. But then again, if you look at our demographics, we've got a lot of retirees. We're getting more retirees. And one of the things we haven't even really addressed as an organization is the whole CTE thing now.
I know. I was waiting for you to.
With athletes, Florida, a lot of the athletes come to Florida because their arthritis in their joints is so bad from sports, they come down here. But with more and more of them having CTE because of head trauma, whether it be an NFL player, an NHL player, or a soccer player, box or whatever, and you get traumatic brain injuries, and it's just not that. It can be domestic violence. It can be a car crash. It can be
I was told
it can be anything.
Any kind of concussion, it's a brain injury.
It's a brain injury,
and that's
exactly right.
Yeah, and
that's exactly right. And it's sad because it seems that the CTE then leads to dementia, Alzheimer's, and it just goes on and on. We.
So it doesn't seem like it's going away anytime soon.
No, and it's not.
And I think it's getting worse because everybody I talked to lately, my aunt passed away from it. I think in the last year, we lost like 3 family members.
Yeah.
Just with different. It's strange.
The sad thing. So many. Everybody knows somebody.
Yeah.
My new VP of development, his mom.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's scary.
It's really scary to think about how many people it affects,
and the people around them, because it's not like a disease I mean, you don't want that either. But a disease that, you get sick and you're bedridden and you slowly pass. It's not. It's like you're living like you're walking around and
Well,
you still can.
We talk about old age and you die of old age, but think about it. If your mind is what runs your body, and your mind forgets to have your heart beat, or it forgets to send an electrical pulse to have something work, that's what happens. I mean, people don't realize how important. We've got all our organs, but the mind is the impulse.
Oh, I know.
That does everything. And it's really, I was on, when I was in Tallahassee back in February. There was an elderly gentleman. I think he's 84, and his wife had passed a year before, and I think she was like 69 years old. And just listening to him talk about her and the life they had, because I think it was his second or third marriage, but he had finally found that person, the one, and listening to him talk about her and just literally breaking down. It's gut wrenching.
Yeah.
Because it's like with me. It's what am I gonna do, or what are my emotions gonna be when my dad doesn't remember my name?
Well, I know,
and sooner or later that could happen.
It does. I mean, because naturally, like I said, my dad had passed away from dementia, and the stages, and I have 5 older siblings, and my brother he was with him all the time and did mostly because he was living next to him. He really had the full blunt of it, and luckily he's okay. I don't know how he handled it, but because he was with him all the time, and no, it was just really, really hard. But to see, and I'm sure most of us are parents, especially your dad, such a strong man, powerful man. Everyone knew him, loved him. And to see him like this, it was the most heart-wrenching ever type of.
Well, it's like my one friend said his dad was in the Navy and was head of a sub.
Yeah,
and his comment was my mom took care of the house for all those years, so my dad could have this great career. And then for 12 years, my dad retired and said, I'm going to take care of her.
Yeah.
And he devoted his life to giving her the best care and the best quality of life he could do. And I think that's what we all strive to do when we've got a loved one or a friend who comes down with this. It's and I think that's where we make such a difference in that, whether they are in our day centers and the families get the respite to recover, even if it's 8 hours a day, they get a time to refresh.
They could at least work.
They can get.
There's
right.
people that will.
Oh yeah.
And also, is there like a timeline from the onset? Really not. It's a slow It's a slow disease.
Yeah.
But so there you go. You have somebody who has this. They could be a year or two. People have to leave their jobs to stay home and take care of these people. Their family. I mean, it's their family. So at least the daycares. It's such a great
and that's
program that you have.
And I, having worked in academic medicine and having seen the difference that like music therapy makes and art therapy, I've walked in, and it's interesting because you would think it would be good for them to have it on a table and paint and color. That's contrary. That's not true. They're much more cognitive and active, engaged with it if it's on an easel. So I don't know when you went in, but the people they were doing it on an easel.
They were doing everything. They were. There was a lot going on.
I gave a presentation to a United Way grant committee, and they came into one of our facilities, and they wanted to be on site to talk to us and ask the questions. So they were there. They were there during Mardi Gras. And one of the best things that you can do for an Alzheimer's patient is drum therapy. The beat of the drum. They seem to be able to get engaged by the beat of the drum. Well, it was during Mardi Gras. So we had all kinds of Mardi Gras music going in the background. And you could watch them with the tambourines and with the drums. And they were just like in they were in themselves. They were enjoying everything. And it was kind of funny at the end. The head of the grants committee and looks at me and goes, "Oh my God, this is unbelievable.
Yeah, no, it is.
I want some jambalaya now." And it was just, it was one of those things where watching them, we've got these mechanical dogs and cats that they can utilize.
The baby doll.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. When I went in, these couple of the people were holding baby dolls. I wanted to cry.
Yeah.
They loved them. This one woman, the one chair, I wanted to kiss her when I left. She was so cute. And she was just holding that baby. And I'm like, your baby's adorable. And she's looking at me like, I'm like, oh yeah. I wanted to cry. You wonder what happened. Like, I'm sure she was a mom at one time. And, here she's holding this little baby doll. It was so cute.
I always talk about, it's great to have material things in life. And don't get me wrong. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
But it's the little things that make the greatest impact in any life. And just watching them just with a mechanical dog or a mechanical cat, or the fact that they're sitting there with a tambourine and beating it on, and just it's that little thing, or putting your hand on their shoulder because they're looking at you like, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
But you that one little, it'll be okay. We'll take care of you.
They seem pretty happy though. Like when I went in to visit the centers, they were. I mean, we were talking up a storm with a lot of them. We were just yapping away.
They're
and then there was some that were just doing their own little, like the baby doll lady and holding her little baby, but she was happy. Yeah. That's all that matters. She was happy holding that little baby doll.
I mean, it's you walk into in our centers and you walk away feeling good.
Yeah.
It's.
I would,
you would think you would walk away kind of down, but you walk in and you see how happy they are, and you see how engaged. You walk away, and it's like,
I felt the opposite. I felt when I walked in, loving it. I thought I feel bad for them when they go home.
Yeah.
You wonder. I mean, I'm sure they're there, so they're not getting it. But you think, oh, when they go home,
but they're going home to their families.
Yeah.
Or they,
but they're playing, they're doing stuff. It was really, really nice.
It's. I have said this. I've been there now 6 months, and I work with a great group of colleagues.
Yeah,
they do everything to make a difference in the quality of life, not just for the patients, but for their families. And I think, I think we all wait for the, that moment, that perfect job. And I've had some great jobs, working in academic medicine or running a health agency or whatever. But for some reason, this was I was in the right spot at the right time.
No, because you're really
for the right position. And I learned something new every day, which is great, because I've always, and I've told my colleagues this, if you think you know everything, you're going to get complacent. It's time to get out. And, it's every day is a challenge. Every day there's something new.
Well, and the growth.
Yeah.
There's growth. It's not stagnant.
No, and that's
at all.
We are really untapped.
Yes.
The whole aspect of our expansion, going into Tampa, probably moving into Broward. I know the dean, at least my understanding
Orlando,
is,
we already mentioned you're going to be
Orlando, I know Miami is interested. So, we are going to do it. Our expansion is going to be done right. We're not going to rush it, because we can't make a mistake. We have to do it correctly, because we're dealing with people's lives. But we have services and educational programs that truly the entire state of Florida needs. And that's, I'll be in Tampa next week, looking at the facility that we've already picked out. We'll be going through finalizing what needs to be done, some ADA compliant things we need to do, and some of my executive leadership will be with me, and we'll be really, it'll be going to a different level of getting that in place to open up. I think I've been told once we do that, you can probably look down the West Coast for Sarasota, Fort Myers, Naples, because it's all needed.
It's never ending.
No, it's not.
I mean, it can keep going. I mean, there's just people. So it's definitely a need.
And we've done this in many instances. We've been fortunate through, we don't turn anybody away at our day centers. We get a lot of funding from the state. We get some federal funds. And then we have some scholarships that we don't turn people away.
Okay.
I will never turn anybody away. If you need care, we're going to find a way to make sure we take care of you. And that really has been done just through some small giving. We've never really had a true development program. We've had a great grants program, but we've never had like a grateful patient aspect where families can give to us, and all that's coming into place, which those additional philanthropic dollars and philanthropic partnerships with a lot of corporations will allow us really to make the ultimate impact that as an organization we should be making all throughout the state of Florida.
Right.
And I think that's the vision I've painted when I got there. My board knows the vision. The staff knows the vision. We've done a great job in our first 25 plus years. But we're at the point now where we can go to a level that really impacts the state overall. And it's an exciting time. I told my colleagues and I told the board when July 1st hit, the on switch went on. And now let's enjoy the ride and take care of more people.
Right.
And that's the position we're in.
Just getting those locations.
Yeah, and that's the big thing. It's really strategically starting to advance us and expand us. Not just necessarily the day centers, but our educational programs. We do a great educational conference every May.
Can you talk about that a little bit too? What you do other than, like you said, the daycares.
So we have a 1-day event. This year was on Nicole's birthday. Next year they've arranged it, so it's a little different. But we bring in some of the top local neurocognitive disorder, whether it's physicians or researchers. We bring them in, and it's usually 200, 250 people, caretakers. You can get your credits. Both doctors and nurses can get credits for it.
Oh wow!
Because it's a legitimate sort of medical conference.
Interesting.
And in the past we've really only marketed it to Palm Beach, St. Lucie, and Martin County. And I think this year we're probably going to do all of Southeast Florida, because I was with my PR firm, and we've been talking about potentially expanding it, getting it larger, potentially coming to Orlando. We'll probably have to do something in Tampa now that we're looking at the Tampa expansion. But you walk away and you've learned all kinds of different things. One of the things this past year was about the importance of sleep and giving you the brain a rest and allowing the brain the rest to revitalize. And it's an amazing. It starts like 8:00 in the morning and runs till 4:00 in the afternoon, and it's pretty nonstop. There's a keynote speaker in the morning, and then there's one at lunch, and then there's breakout sessions where you can pick and go.
Can anybody just attend that wants to learn more about?
All you have to do is you go online and register. I think it's like a $50 charge.
And you register at your website?
It'll be set up. We're in the process of getting it set up for the 2024 conference.
Okay.
It's at Palm Beach Gardens Marriott. But eventually you can go get info on it now, but you can't register. But it's at alzcare.org. And that's, we've got a lot of educational programs on there that you could just click on and watch. And then there's plenty of resources, and of course you can always call or send an email, and we always get right back to anybody that needs it. But
Yeah, because
you know,
it's educating people what's going on.
yeah, we try. I think like I said, one of the neat things about the expansion is we'll be able to educate more of the public.
Yeah.
Instead of just in our comfort three county area. And
Yeah, see, I didn't realize you did all that too. Wow.
Yeah. It's a pretty, it's a pretty comprehensive educational aspect of what we do. Because the bottom line is the earlier you detect it, the better the quality of life can
Right.
be.
And thank God for the centers.
Yeah.
I mean, years ago,
There
they put them in nursing homes.
Yeah.
When they got like this, and they just
Well, and that's the huge difference.
yeah, they
If-
just would medicate. It was just not
if,
nice.
If you look at the cost savings,
Right,
and
you
the
were saying.
fact, we're keeping them really at home, which is the best place for them. Between trying to find 100 to 120,000 for a private facility, or coming to us during the day for 5 days a week for $22,000,
Right.
It's insurance companies love it.
I was going to ask you if insurance companies would cover.
Insurance companies love it, and it's a win-win across the
Yeah,
board.
and then you don't have to put your parent away.
Now, and they get to come home at night, which, let's face it, we all want our
Yeah.
loved ones at home.
Right.
And if we can provide that sort of a care and respite to the family that they can come home at night, then it's a win-win for everybody. Because it's like I said, you've got that triangle. You've got the patient, you got the family, you got us, and then you got the help and the hope and the safe haven, and
Yeah.
and they all interact and they all blend together, and it truly makes a difference.
Wow.
in
What
the
an
quality of
it's
life.
amazing. What a fantastic organization, really.
Yeah, we've made a huge impact, and we've laid a great foundation, and now it's just a matter of taking it more to everybody in Florida to really make a difference in all their lives.
Beautiful.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. It's like it's amazing. It really is.
I'm thoroughly
lot said.
impressed.
Yeah.
It's
That's Phil in the background. Phil, you had a question, didn't you? We were talking about it earlier about his mom actually now, right?
Yeah. So my mom, she's only 63, and she's already been diagnosed.
Yeah.
She was diagnosed maybe 2 years ago. But I noticed that she had some memory issues long before she was ever diagnosed with anything.
Yeah, it's like I said, they're now looking at early 40s.
Oh my God.
Are you seeing
it's
younger
just-
people in the facility now?
We don't see they're not necessarily in the facility. I would say, most of ours are elderly, 60, 70, 80. I don't know what our youngest patient is. I couldn't tell you.
I saw a gentleman in there in one of the facilities. I took him for he looked like maybe late 40s.
It
Really
could be.
50.
Like I said, I mean, there's the diagnosis
He was-
is
yeah.
occurring. And I think more and more now, where years ago you could be, I'm getting forgetful. Oh, I'm tired. I had a long day. I'm forgetting. Now I think it's more.
Now we always say, no, we're thinking Alzheimer's.
Yeah, people now I think
Yes.
are beginning to realize that, okay, maybe I am not as remembering things like I used to.
But we always say we have to absorb so much over the years. We have a lot of years, so we're always. Is it that too? You start thinking, well, maybe just it's like a computer.
Well, you
You got to reboot the computer.
Well, the sad thing about it too is that a lot of the general practitioners, family doctors, there's no real, I guess, diagnosis mechanism to detect it.
Yeah.
And a lot of them don't really look. I mean, it's sad to say, but I think if you look at medical school curriculums, I don't even think Alzheimer's or neurocognitive disorders is in any of the studying component in medical school.
Probably not.
And the question is, why not? Because it has become such a prominent disorder Why not?
Oh,
Because
yeah.
maybe if it was a part of a curriculum, maybe the doctors would be better suited, or there would be some systematic testing in place that be able to detect somebody earlier and maybe make necessarily adjustments, not to
Well, it's like
necessarily get rid of it, but stop it
awareness.
or slow it down.
That's it right there.
Exactly.
I mean, years, right? They always said, drug awareness, this awareness. We need more awareness.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's where
And that's where one of the things where we've not really had a planned out marketing communications or PR at all.
But that's going to be
and that's one of the
that's going to be
things
one thing.
that's
That's awareness.
That's one of the things we've tried to put in
Absolutely.
place because the more you create the awareness and the more you educate, the more the general population understands what's going and what potentially
Even if we could slow it down a little bit.
early signs to do something about it. But it's let's face it, the word Alzheimer's is sadly a stigma. People don't like to talk about it.
No.
They really don't. And it's one of the things we're potentially looking at is rebranding in some aspects. Because it is so much neurocognitive, not just the Alzheimer's.
Right, that's
we'll never lose our name because that's who we are. But maybe there needs to be a little more rebranding to look at all kinds of neurocognitive disorders. Like I said, CTE, dementia, etc.
Well, CT is that's really with the sports injuries. Now that's so on the rise, especially with the football players, these kids playing sports and
Well, and the question is the NFL's put a lot of money into testing and doing autopsies. What are we going to do now? Is that something that we may be able to help them with, especially here in Florida?
well,
Address that population.
I don't want to mention names or anything like that, but I actually I go to a chiropractor and I get a treatment and it's done with an Atlas treatment. They call it an Atlas treatment CT. And they literally just touch the back of your head with it looks like a little pointy thing, but it's not even pointy. And it adjusts your Atlas and your whole spine feels like it adjusts.
Wow.
I know it sounds kind of strange, but it works. And this treatment, they are treating a lot of football players. Like I said, I'm not going to name names or where to get it done, but it's becoming very big, and it's done with an Atlas treatment. And it's helping it because, as you know, it's a spinal fluid, right? And when your neck is out of alignment, the fluid's not flowing straight through the brain. With this particular treatment, it's helping the fluid opens up the spine a little better. So I know a lot of them are going for this treatment now.
Yeah, I mean,
and you'll see more of it.
There's a lot of stuff out there. We can talk about the CTE, but with dementia and with Alzheimer's, one of the things that people don't realize is the minute the sun starts going down, their moods change.
Yeah, it's right here.
It changes drastically.
I put it here. It's called sundowning.
Sundown. Yeah.
My dad had it horrible.
Yeah.
It was like Dr. Jekyll. I don't mean to make it funny. It's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
It's like a different person. Totally different person.
They start hallucinating. They see things. There's people in the room.
Their mood swings, their demeanor, their everything.
You start hallucinating.
And most people don't realize it, but it actually it is a condition.
Yeah.
That happens with these disorders.
And they say a lot of times they can't sleep either. Mm-hmm. They're up and they're talking because I remember my dad. It was just.
There's a commercial on TV now about it.
Really?
Yeah, there's a commercial out.
I don't think I've seen that.
That talks about this syndrome
sundowning
that occurs, and it's the first time I saw it watching TV. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe there's a website.
Yeah, I didn't see the commercial.
A website and everything.
Wow.
Yeah.
There was medication. They did give us.
There is.
They
medication.
did give a medication.
Yeah.
I don't know, like my family handled that more, but yeah.
Yeah, you take it. I think it's at least my father was on it. Take it at 3. And then it's 7 o'clock. I think is the way they do it.
But it's strange how they act, right?
Totally different.
That's why I said it's such a horrible disease to watch. But anyway, so
I didn't know about that.
Yeah,
I'm looking it up right now.
I wanted to bring that up too because I was like, oh, I know he's gonna.
I read your mind.
Yeah, you read my notes. No, it's horrible.
Yeah,
it's like to
it
watch
is.
them.
And you can almost, it happens almost at the same time every day.
Now, is that more common in Alzheimer's or dementia?
Dementia.
I think it's really in both because it's if you know somebody and you see them like in the morning, and then you stay and watch how it takes place in the afternoon.
It's like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde.
Yeah, yeah.
Nicole, no, it's like. Wait, we don't. It's not that we're laughing because this is not something.
it's
Real.
not,
I mean, I'm laughing, but it's
it's
not. I mean,
it's the truth.
We used to. In fact, we used to. I think we used to tease. I used to tease my father. I'm like, oh no, here you go. No, it was just like
It's like, who are you?
Yeah.
Really, I mean, you can have somebody who's real nice and.
It's like good to get out of the house before.
It's go take a walk and let them, relax. But yeah, it's an actual, and it's sad.
No, it is sad. But listen. This is what you do when you're in situations like this. I'm not saying you bring humor into it, but we would, we'd be like, "Did you get out of the house before Daddy turned to Dr. Jekyll?"
It's just it's when it first started happening. I wasn't working there then. This happened.
Yeah.
Prior to me working at ACC, and it was.
Oh, so you were so you knew a little bit about it even before you started working there.
And I went and I asked his neurologist. I'm like, all right, 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Oh, that's funny. Yes,
something happens.
Yeah, sundown.
And my mom's like, yeah, it happens, and they, and it's before he really, I don't have the. Oh no, there's nothing wrong. But now, like I said the other day, for the first time, he said, Michael, my mind, my mind's not what it was.
Wow.
It's and I think anybody, whether you're a family member or a close friend, you never want to hear that.
Oh God, no.
It's and I tell people he still knows my name. He still. Recognizes my voice, and it's hard for him because he's got macular degeneration. So he can't see really. He can tell you're there, but it's a dark color. He can see Nicole's bright dresses, and he knows them right away. But it's one of those things where, I've had friends who, in college who were like late kids in their parents' lives, and as we went through school, you could see the difference. And some of my closest friends, like I said, my friend whose father was in the Naval Academy and in the Navy, and his mom, and how all that. That's why I think you be grateful for what you have.
Yeah.
Be grateful when you wake up in the morning and you've got that special person, or you're grateful for life in general. The fact that you can wake up and you know who you are and what your day is and the friends around you and who's there, and you can process your thoughts, and I think too many people take it for granted.
Yeah, we do.
When it's just be grateful for life, because sometimes it just goes.
Yeah.
And there's no reason. You may be alive today and dead tomorrow something may happen in your brain, and everything that you knew, or the vast majority of that you knew. I mean, how would you like it if, you wake up one morning and you don't know who your significant other is next to you?
Right.
I mean, how would the person? I mean, think about that.
Yeah, no, I know. That's what I'm saying.
Because it happens, and I think that's.
I don't want to say that I want to have that problem.
No, but it happens.
No, I know.
It literally happens.
I have my two dogs. No,
and it's like or your kids. Somebody comes knocking at your door one day, and you're like, "Who are you?"
Well, that's
I think that's where people forget just how the smallest little thing.
Well, I'll tell you that I just talked about this today. Just somebody I was just talking about, my dad. I think one of the worst that I saw to me was at my uncle's funeral. He had passed away, and my dad was there. He just started with the dementia. We started really noticing it more. My daughter comes into the funeral home, and we were in the horse. My dad was in the horse business. He looks at my daughter and goes, "So do you own horses too?" She looked at me, and I'm like,
Yeah.
"I'll explain later."
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how fast it was coming on him. And I said, "I'll explain later." That had to be, and for her, she was, 17, 18 years old. And she's like, well, what's wrong with it? Like I said,
Well, it's like I don't know.
he's getting this dementia.
Yeah.
It's happening. It was fast.
Yeah.
And I better not bring that up. But I think he had some anesthesia.
Yeah.
And he was fine before that. And then after his anesthesia, I better be careful when I say this, but it was like overnight. After about 3 months after that. And there was like, oh, it's old age. Well, maybe, I'm sure it is. But I'm just telling you what we noticed.
Yeah.
It wasn't like that.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know how I'm going to react. I don't. It's one of those things where hopefully it never happens.
Yeah. Well,
hopefully it never happens, but
I think more.
I know I've had friends whose parents don't remember them.
Yeah.
They have no idea. And I think that's hard.
Well, sometimes you might. Well, I was gonna say sometimes we might want to forget somebody, but no, I'm just trying to make some light of it because
it's just one of those things where it's everybody who deals with this and with this disease when it comes to a loved one realizes that at some point that could be how it is.
Yeah.
And and it's
so where do you see this going, like with the center? Where do you, I mean, you just said you're going to open some more. And
for us, I think it's going to be just an expansion of all of our services.
Okay. Yeah. It's all going to be wrapped up into one roof.
Yeah.
So in other words, if somebody once your facility, once your centers.
I'll use the Tampa as an thing. All systems are go right now for Tampa, and I truly believe it's going to take place. Okay, but besides the day center and being able to bring your loved one there,
it's going to be an educational center. So people, that's what I was going to ask you. They could stop there and get information.
We will have. We'll have when you come in, there'll be a receptionist. That
Nice.
Can get information. We will probably have offices there. We will probably do educational programs there. Because
nice. This is what
the way the actual facility is set up. It's really, to be honest with you, if somebody built a prototype for us, this is the building that's the prototype.
Yeah. Well,
it's perfect for us.
I mean, you have your online. Okay, let's Google. Let's get a website. But you know how personable, how much better it would be if you can literally walk into a facility and speak to somebody about.
Well, that's like I always joke, pick up the phone.
Yeah.
Pick up the phone. Go see somebody. I think we've in many instances in business, and I'm not going to say, I think it even occurred more prior to COVID, is we got so used to not picking up the phone, not going in person and seeing somebody. And I think when you're dealing on the medical side of things, which in turn is the emotional side too, go see somebody. Go talk to them. Go so you can look into their eyes and they can look into your eyes. And there's a sincerity and a mutual respect that's built.
Right.
That they know you're going to have what is in the best interest of their loved one and in the best interest for them too.
Yes.
And I think, I think that's really key in life in general. But when you're dealing with something medical, especially when you're dealing with the mind, and somebody may just need to exhale because they can tell you're sincere. They can tell you respect them. They can tell you want to make a difference in their lives and their loved ones' lives. I think that makes the ultimate.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And you just before we wrap this up, I want to. Now, is there a wait list to get into the center? Like, what do they?
The only time there becomes a wait list is in order to be specialized, there has to be a 5-to-1 ratio.
Okay.
Okay. As we all know now, it's hard to hire medical people,
Oh yeah.
nurses,
Yeah.
LPNs. You just can't find them. And for us, it's even harder because some of the mega health systems just throw dollars at them. We're not in a position. We pay well. We have great benefits. It's Monday through Friday, but we have to keep that 1-to-5 ratio.
Yes.
You
So
know, the whole specialized day center thing, that was us. That was our bill in Tallahassee. We did that.
could if it gets to a point that it's so well, we know it's needed. Is there a way that maybe you could have your own training facility to bring people in to get a career in taking care of? That might be something.
So my VP of education actually teaches at 4 of the colleges and universities. Within the, she literally goes in, and we actually engage with the universities, and they come and intern with us, which is because, and that way, some of them, just by being in our day centers, may have wanted to been an emergency nurse. Or
that's what I'm.
and they're like, oh my God, I love interacting with these patients.
And that's important today because a lot of industries are starting to do this. What I'm telling you, they're not. You had your associate.
You have to be proactive.
Yeah, you had your associate's degree, you had your bachelor's degree. Not everybody went to college, and not everybody wants to be a nurse. But there might be somebody that's special that could work with dementia patients. You put them in a school program, a training program for 6 to 8 weeks. They're joining it knowing that this is what they want to do, and they're getting educated. Yeah, that might be something, too, that would be good, because you're going to need that.
I'll say this. I think some of the best caregivers, and this is nurses and LPMs, they're great.
Yeah,
they
of course.
do an outstanding job. But I think sometimes a layperson, just because of their surroundings or who they've been around, can be so vital in a day center that it's almost priceless.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And I think that's something that you may want to look into that.
And it all comes down
eventually.
And if they don't want a career, even as a volunteer, just to go in and spend time and engage, them as a volunteer are going to walk out feeling better about their lives, and the patients that they've engaged with are going to feel better about their lives.
Right, but it also helps, I think, the credibility to have a program, an 8-week program just to learn, and clinical,
they do it.
And beautiful. And you'll get, because it is going to be hard to get all LPNs and RNs and, totally.
Well, and it's interesting because a lot of the nurse navigators used to be nurse navigators. And when I worked in academic medicine, you'd have nurse navigators, and then there's a very renowned health system that started to go with the nurse navigators, but they also started to get the social workers involved in that. So there was a very good blend of the social work navigator and the medical navigator. And it just seemed to open up a total different sort of avenue because of the different backgrounds and careers that opened up a different look for the patients and their families.
Gotcha.
So
great. Wow.
There's a lot of things, and like I said, we're lucky because our educational programs are so good, and we're always looking to develop more to educate the community, to educate.
Well, that's what it's all about. There's a lot more that could.
That's exactly
going to be done. That could be done. Will be done.
That's exactly
right. Wow,
right.
Great, Michael. It was great having you on here today with us, and appreciate all your knowledge and informing us about what's going on with the daycare.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
What's the website again?
It's alzcare.org.
Wow. Ellie, any final words?
I just want to thank him and thank you. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Michael.
Absolutely.
Guys, we will catch you later. See ya.